back, part two, part two, part two, part two, part two, part two. Back, part two, part two, part two, part two, part two. Gotta turn off the audio on this thing. Anyways, wanted to go back through this thing. It's a mid-80s Burny lawsuit edition. It's got the Gibson open book headstock. It also has a built-in sustainer, and it came with some pretty sad hardware. So of course, something that's almost 40 years old, you can't expect everything to be in perfect shape. But the tuners, they sucked. They were in really bad shape. So I replaced the tuners. They probably have been replaced once before, but I put my old favorites, the Wilkinson gold ones, the tulip, match the style tulip knob machine heads, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fill the old screw holes that keeps these things from spinning, and realign them because they're not very straight. So somebody really kind of made a mess of it. But I will do that. The other thing I got coming is some strap locks, gold colored strap locks that are going to be going on here. This is definitely a player's instrument at this point. It's I think Burny's, they have a great resale value. This wasn't very expensive though. This was a really a bargain. Came from Japan, and built in Japan. Somebody owned it in Japan. I guess they must be a dime a dozen over there. And so I started doing some other mods, and one of them, as you can see, is I put on this Floyd Rose. The Floyd Rose, this model is really nice. I got it on another instrument. I got it on my Vietnamese build or Chinese build. I had a body and neck ordered that was like the black cherry finish. I demoed it like a year and a half ago or something. I built it where I did a bunch of modifications to the headstock to make it because it wasn't an original instrument. It was a built instrument, and they didn't follow my directions when I ordered it. I wanted to have my sort of tapered fancy ass headstock put on, so I ended up doing a lot of modifications. This one though, I kept the headstock the same because the inlays are nice. It's got square inlays instead of the trapezoids, so there's a few differences from a standard Gibson, but it plays super nice. The neck is super straight. There's a fair amount of fret left on the material on the frets here. I should do a little bit of a recrowning of them, but it's not bad at all. And of course, like I said, I put the Floyd Rose on. Now the Floyd Rose is interesting. This model, it's got sort of a Brian May, the original Brian May tremolo vibrato whammy system. He had said it was like, in his opinion, it was better, far more stable than any of the Fender ones, which I'm inclined to agree. And what it uses is a sort of a cantilever system where there's a spring here, and then as you move it, it compresses it. There's a stick or a pole that compresses the spring this way. And so everything's in line, and it returns to tune like really reliably. And so this thing is a surface mount. I don't have to do any routing. Well, I shouldn't have had to do any routing because it sits in the old tailpiece posts. It clamps to the old tailpiece post anchors, and these other height adjustments that are here, they are they're surface, and there's pads that are on the top of the guitar so you don't like it come with these pads that they don't scratch the finish. Of course, which is pointless for me right now, because what I had to do is, since in the bottom, so this is right now it's sitting rather flush. I don't know if you can see that. It's sitting flush to the top there, because the neck angle on this guitar is really shallow compared to like a standard Gibson or like a really true Gibson copy. The neck should be, if it was a real Gibson copy, it should be tilted a little bit further back, the headstock. And so that would mean that we'd have a little bit more relief, and I'd be able to raise the tremolo up. But because I wasn't able to, and the way the thing is built, there's a slight dip underneath where the cantilever rests on. And so you can only go so far down in your action before that started touching the top. Well, because I am a disrespectful bastard with some of these things, I ended up deciding over the last few days to actually take some material out of the top that's underneath so you can't see it, but there's about, I'd say maybe, I don't know, like between like 3/16 of an inch, an eighth to 3/16 of an inch that I dug out there, that now allows this thing to, like this little dip underneath where the cantilever sticks onto, to now move freely as we bring the whole tremolo assembly and bridge down flat to where I can get a really nice, like typical Les Paul type action out of it. And of course these things also has a locking nut. And again, that one was a whole lot of fun because they sort of did an interesting design where, I don't know if you can see that, but they actually do like a route in, like a groove in, where the original nut goes into the body of the guitar, into the body of the neck, below where the binding is, which means that the fretboard isn't as thick, and so the locking system is a little bit too thick, and you can't get, when I actually did the work to file the nut down, the locking system actually kept it up and not touching the nut anymore. So I had to go to like my grinder and take the plate here, which is like all one piece now with a new truss rod cover, and grind that part down so that it essentially made a flat surface parallel to the fretboard, but below the level of where the grooves for the nut were. And then of course I can lock it down, and the strings will sit nicely in the nut that I filed and got to be like perfect at this point. And then of course that then keeps this whole thing from going out of tune. I also have this wired with a coil split switch, so now like when I pull the volume out, I'm in single coil mode. Okay, single coil. In it is full humbucker. And so I can get the dual coil action. What I've been thinking about recently is maybe I can replace the tone control with a push-pull, and I would take the output of because the way this thing is wired, the pickup goes to the switch on the volume knob. The output of the switch, whether it's single coil or double coil, goes to the sustainer board now. And the sustainer board, because as soon as I turn the sustainer on, if I'm in If I'm in my rhythm pickup, which is a single coil, I don't know if you can tell, because it's a single coil, so it's not as woody sounding as a. It still has a little bit of wood tone, but once I kick it into here, if I kick on the sustainer, it overrides that switch. It overrides the switch and goes exclusively to the treble pickup. So what I would do is I would take the output of the switch, run it to this, and I'd be able to do a phase reversal so that when it is in this mode with this up, right now it doesn't sound that much different, because it's just two single coils wired up together in parallel, like, you know, not quite like a humbucker, but it sounds pretty stacked. With the phase reversal, then I'm going to get that sort of hollow or woody sort of like scoop tone, where I'm getting that, I was going to say it's kind of like a Mark Knopfler tone, but not, because the single coils and the pickups are spread out further apart than they would be on a Fender. But you'd be getting something similar with an out of phase tone. It would be thinner, a little bit crisper on the top end, I guess you could say, as you're sort of filtering the phase cancellation on the signal from the two pickups would start canceling each other at specific frequencies. So enough physics. Like I said, so I'm thinking about putting that switch in, but because I didn't see this as something that was going to be like, this was definitely like a personal purchase. So I hesitated, but I didn't have that much hesitation to pull take out some of the material from the top to make the whammy bar work. Also, doing the work up here, I took a rasp and filed down some of the excess finish from the headstock that was uneven, so that I could get this plate to sit down further, so I didn't have to remove so much material using the grinder. Anyways, it sounds pretty fabulous now. And you know, typical to Floyd Rose, I got fine tuners down here. I'm live right now.
I'm gonna go to the store right now.
Okay, have fun. And then I'm running this right now through my Tech 21 Sans amp, Richie Kotzen, which I really love. And so, like, so you can see, it's just like it's a screaming tone machine when you get everything set up. Ah, so beautiful. So yeah, this is now going to be one of my live, like whenever I do get out and play live, this is going to be sitting on stage. It's I also have to say the black Les Paul, it definitely brings me back to, it's not the 3 pickup, but like the Frampton Comes Alive Phoenix or the Robert Fripp Deluxe that he had during the middle period. I also think he was using it during the Crimson King stuff, but just there's an awful lot of like sentimentality about it. Now I own a black Les Paul that is very, very sweet, and I can always, if I wanted to be a total rehab, route it out and put in a 3rd pickup, and then wire this thing up with the Jimmy Page. There's like a 6-position switch. Go nuts, go crazy, and really make this into like a totally pimped out thing. But in addition to like my own instruments that I've been building, I've got my Sunburst, Tobacco Burst, my own model. I've got the black telly that I just put together, the black walnut telly, and now I've got this thing. And of course a double neck 612. I mean, between those 4, I'm pretty much covered off for just about anything I would want to do, and probably in excess as well. So this, my friends, this is the 1980s Burny Les Paul Sustainer, and if you're interested in doing something similar to your guitars at any point, I'm really hesitant to do stuff like this to like Gibsons, because this kind of thing, unless you just say like, unless it's like a newer one that you just want to make it a real instrument that you want to play all the time, that's going to do everything for you. If it's a vintage instrument, I don't feel comfortable with that. But if you've got something that you particularly love, that you want to have something like this done to, then reach out and we can talk about it. As I said, this thing is just a wicked instrument. I wish that it wasn't so bright outside, so that the drapes wouldn't be, or the blinds wouldn't be putting forward so much background light. But this thing is set up to be like, it's like 1.5 millimeters at the 12th fret. It's really nice. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Let's talk if you're interested. Otherwise, please, leave comments. Subscribe on my YouTube channel, and or on the Twitch channel. I'm doing this massive simulcast on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube right now. So you'll be able to find me in all those places. Again, robertsvilpamusic.com for all the music stuff. This piece that I played at the beginning was part of a large piece called Lady in a Cage, and it's a lot of fun to play. Hasn't been played live yet. And then there's I'm on MRR, Melodic Revolution Records, for everything from the latest album, which is called Foucault's Pendulum, which is about an hour-long instrumental split into 7 pieces, and the upcoming album that's going to be released later this year, To Sleep, Perchance to Dream. That'll be a vocal. That'll have songs and vocals on it. I also have an album that got released before those, which was Fine Line Between and The Sound of Thoughts, both available for order through Melodic Revolution Records. And And I also build guitars, as I said. You can go to my Facebook page or on LinkedIn, look for Svilpa Custom Guitars, and you'll see a load of pictures of all the different instruments I put together, plus a bunch of videos on the YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your Father's Day. Enjoy, and